Good afternoon and welcome to the City Council meeting of October 7th, 2024. I'll call this meeting to order and ask that you all rise for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With flowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you to our very own Tennille Towns for the singing of our national anthem and to the Grande Prairie Marketing Department for the images you saw. I'd like to take this opportunity to read our land acknowledgement. The city respectfully acknowledges the Beaver Cree, Dene, and Métis people as the original caretakers of these lands and surrounding areas. We are grateful to live, learn, work, and play on Treaty 8 territory within Turtle Island and acknowledge that these lands have been home to the diverse and sovereign First Nations and Inuit nations since time immemorial. Thank you for that opportunity. I'm now going to move on to the proclamation portion of our meeting, and today I have the privilege of reading two proclamations. I'm going to start with the Small Business Week one. From the Office of the Mayor, Small Business Week being October 20th to 2026, whereas Grande Prairie's regional economy is one of the most prosperous in the world, and the small business sector is one of its greatest strengths. During Small Business Week, we honor small business owners and employees and the enormous contribution they make to our successes. And whereas small business owners reflect the characteristics that make our region great through their vision, responsibility, innovation, dedication, and hard work. It is often the entrepreneurs who are our innovators, our risk takers, and our job creators. And whereas small businesses are a vital part of our region's economy, and more than 2/3 of Canadian employees work for a small business. Whereas Small Business Week is a time to celebrate our successes and to thank small business owners for their contributions to our community and our economy, and whereas I encourage all residents of the City of Grande Prairie to observe Small Business Week appropriately by dedicating themselves to learn more about these entrepreneurs and how we can help them continue their tremendous path of success. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jackie Clayton of the City of Grande Prairie, do hereby proclaim October 20th to 26th as Small Business Week in the City of Grande Prairie. I'm going to sign this, and I know Mr. Pura is here. I'm just going to read a couple quick highlights of events that are taking place, and then if you want, Mr. Pura, I can present this proclamation to you. During that week, on the Tuesday, October 22nd, there is a Women in Business Luncheon, takes place at Montrose Cultural Centre. Tickets are available on the Chamber website. On the Wednesday, our lunches with Rotary at the Holiday Inn and Suites Conference Center, and the topic is mental wellness, a win for you and your business. Those tickets also can be purchased on the Grande Prairie Chamber.com website. And the fourth major event that week, the Chamber Awards of Distinction, is on Thursday, October 24th at Clarkson Hall at Evergreen Park. There's one other event that takes place on Wednesday, October 30th, and that is the Business Showcase. It's at the Jackpot Grill and Event Center. It's a mini multi-business trade show. If you've been there before, it's a great event. There's lots of positive conversations and lots of activity. There's no cost to attend that, but registration is appreciated so they have an idea of the numbers. And I see Mr. Puri here from the Chamber, so I'll come forward and give him this proclamation.
Yeah, Tom.
Our second proclamation for today is, my apologies, I'm doing it later in the week, but I'm not going to read it today. But just for your awareness, it's Probus Month in October, where I'll be going to the Probus Club of Grande Prairie later this week to read their proclamation. And for those who aren't aware what Probus Club is, there's 244 clubs across Canada with 34,000 Probians in celebration of 37 years. And so Probus members are retired or semi-retired professional, business people, or like responsible people from the local community. So that is another proclamation that will take place later this month. Moving on to the adoption of the previous council minutes, recognizing Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'd like to move council adopt the minutes of the City Council meeting held September 23rd as presented.
Thank you for that, Councillor O'Connor. That motion is in order. Seeing no one in the queue with questions or concerns, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to the adoption of the previous council meeting, recognizing Councillor Thiessen.
For the agenda?
Agenda, my apologies, adoption of the agenda.
Okay, yeah, I would move that council adopt the agenda as presented.
That motion is in order. I'll call the question. And that carries unanimously as well. Moving on to the delegation portion of our meeting, I will mention if you are looking to be a delegation at council, there's an online form that's relatively simple. We ask you fill it out ahead of time. When we are having an evening session, that would be an option. Today we aren't having an evening session, so there's only afternoon delegations. Delegation business is dealt with at the end of our meeting, and I will first on the agenda ask for Mr. Cory Gundersen to come forward. Mr. Gundersen, I'll give you a couple minutes to get set up. Your mics are on. Once you're seated, please, sir, just introduce yourself for those who might be watching from home. Take about 5 minutes to address council, and then council may have some questions for you.
That's great.
Thanks and welcome.
Have to move this?
You can if you want, you bet. Pull it right forward. It's not attached to the table. There you go.
Okay. I can just start.
You can start.
I'm Cory Gundersen. I'm a resident of Grande Prairie. We also own a local business, so we just like to be a part of the council or the meeting today. And I can just read.
You betcha.
Right.
Go for it. Yeah, no worries.
Good afternoon, members of council. Thank you for hearing me today. I'm compelled to share my experience with you today of a company that as a council you chose to award a contract for our city. On September 15th, Sunday, at 9:12 a.m., we were notified that a truck from our inventory had been stolen and involved in an accident. The RCMP officer on scene called us and asked us to meet him at the station to fill out a report. We discovered that the truck was taken from a business in Grande Prairie at 7:01 a.m., and by 7:25, it was on its roof in Mission Heights, thieves having fled the scene. The RCMP officer informed me that Deca Towing had retrieved the truck from the accident site, and it was now in their secured facility for fingerprinting. I called Deca Towing Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. to see what the protocol was to see the truck and assess the damages. I was told the RCMP were coming to fingerprint the truck and that they, Deca Towing, would return my call after the RCMP had completed that. By 3:30 p.m., I had yet to hear back from Deca Towing, so my wife and I drove to the yard to talk with someone in person. When there, we asked if we could see the truck. After checking with each other in the office, they said the RCMP had just left and we were able to see it. The visitor logbook was on the front table, showing that the police were there at noon. We were not asked to sign the visitor logbook to enter the yard, asked for personal identification to prove who we are, say we are informed that there would be a charge added to the invoice to see our truck. We were escorted into the bay by a tow truck driver, who at the time informed us he was the second driver to arrive at the accident scene. The first driver to the scene had already righted the truck and had it on the flat deck tow truck. I took photos of the truck in the ident bay for our reference. There were no fluids or debris from the truck on the floor of the bay. After seeing the truck, I informed the tow truck driver and the administrator of Deca Towing situated at the front desk there was to be no further action taken by them regarding this truck. We were assured that if it involved charges or fees, that someone would contact us prior to moving forward. The morning of Tuesday, September 17th, I contacted the RCMP to see if they require any more with the truck. I was told no, and everything was completed on their end. I then called Deca Towing to make immediate arrangements to pick up the truck. The administrator said someone would call me back with information. Someone did not return my call on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I called again, and again, someone would return my call with information. Someone did not call. On Thursday, I was unavailable by phone. However, there were no missed calls, messages, or email from Deca Towing with information on how I can get my property in a timely manner. The morning of Friday, September 20th, I call again and ask why I have yet to receive a call back. At this point, I'm disappointed with the lack of customer service and frustrated with the attitude and disrespect on their end. She says she would get the invoice ready now and call back. Almost an hour later, she called back to inform me my bill was ready. All $1,619.64 of it. I've had several vehicles towed by several companies, and this bill seemed extreme and out of line in comparison to other tow bills I have received. I asked to have a copy of the invoice emailed so I could see the breakdown of charges for myself. Once I reviewed the invoice, I called Deca to confirm all the charges were correct because when we were in the office on Monday, 5 days prior, I asked if any more charges were accrued. I asked to be made aware. The receptionist was quite rude and said that was the bill, and if I wanted the truck back, I'd have to pay the bill before it left their yard. I then arranged to have that truck picked up immediately. After some research, I discovered how blatantly inaccurate the charges on my invoice are. These are my findings. I was charged a heavy tow rate, which is a vehicle over 11,000 kilograms, but my truck is only 3,159 kilograms, making it a light tow. There's a winch charge on top of a tow charge on top of a second tow charge. I was charged for a fee for an on-site cleanup, but it was the fire department and a few witnesses that cleaned up the debris from the accident, not the tow truck driver. We have a witness for that. I was charged for cleanup in the ident bay, but zero, and I mean no fluids were leaked out of this truck. All fluids were at full on all measuring devices, and the pictures I took show the truck was not leaking, yet a fluid cleanup was charged twice. The ident bay is not secure. As mentioned previously, we were never asked to sign in or show ID how to get to it. We also have information on good authority that the bays are being rented out in the same building as the ident bay, deeming it not a secured space. When I called Tuesday to make arrangements to get my truck, no one returned my call until I repeatedly called until Friday. I was charged a day rate for every day that someone did not return my call, allowing me to get my truck out of their possession. I was charged again a heavy tow rate to remove my tow truck or to remove my truck from the ident bay to the yard. No call was made to me to ask me a form of, yet again, additional charges. I was charged extra time as they stated the wheels were damaged. The wheels were damaged during the recovery, but they refused to acknowledge their error and add it to my bill. I was charged for an escort into the ident bay. We drove our truck into the yard, and he opened the door to the bay. On top of everything, I was charged an admin fee. Procuring an invoice is a standard cost of doing business. It is unlawful to charge an admin fee unless it is explained and discussed with the customer. I was also charged a 5% credit card payment fee, which again is unlawful. The maximum amount that can be charged is 2.4% or the amount it costs to accept a credit card, whichever charges less. The last charge on the invoice is laughable and my favorite, a tow to the CRC. I was charged to a tow to a place that is closed on Sundays when the accident occurred. And the RCMP completed their portion on Monday from the ident bay, which is at the Deca towing yard. I did call the CRC on Friday when I received my bill, and they confirmed that they had never seen this truck. It was never there. The file showed the collision pictures in the ident bay. With that information, this is a fraudulent charge. I've gone on Facebook to share my experience and frustration. Many Grande Prairie residents responded with similar experiences of their own and sent copies of their invoices they received from Deca Towing. As you can see, the grievances and discrepancies are high. I'd like to add that in going to Facebook with my experience, we received a credit on the invoice, which wouldn't need to happen if the city's guidelines were already being followed. We received a hand-delivered letter from the lawyer of Deca Towing. We were being accused of slander and being a sore loser for not being awarded the city contract against a competitor. I am not a tow company. I did not apply for the contract. And vocalizing my experience is not slander or untrue. So I ask, what steps does the city take after awarding a service contract to ensure all points stated in the application process are indeed correct and factual? Are there steps taken by the city to ensure the contract is awarded to an upstanding and respectable business that will not only be a representative for the city of Grande Prairie, but you can also guarantee they will not take advantage of people when they're at their lowest? In closing, I'm here as a concerned citizen, and I'm asking what the council plans to do when a company is awarded a city contract fraudulently takes advantage of the citizens of our city. I appreciate your time and being heard. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I will now open it up to council for questions of Mr. Gundersen. And a reminder to council, questions for administration will happen at the end of the meeting when we deal with delegation business. Councillor Bressie.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. First of all, thanks for coming in. I always appreciate when residents get something that they're concerned about added to our agendas. And this is an area where I've had some concerns mostly about RCMP communication in the past. So excited to have some opportunity to ask questions about that in a minute. But a question I've got for you is, so council, usually we're not involved in individual contracts and really operational stuff like this. So curious, have you had any conversations with our staff about this yet? Or is this the first time you've approached the city?
First time.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bosch.
Hello. Thank you for coming, Cory. Just a quick question. I just want to make sure I heard what I thought I heard. You were charged to look at your truck?
To walk back and see it.
Okay.
I have the copies of the invoices, guys. You can have it when I'm gone here or whenever you want to see it. But accompanying client to vehicle and ident bay is a $160 an hour charge, and we were charged $40 to go see our own property.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bressie.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Then one other question. I've got an invoice in front of me that I believe you submitted to council, was circulated to us by our administration.
Okay.
And so it's one that totals $1,255. Was this the original invoice?
No.
Or this was a revised invoice.
So the amount that I had to pay to get the truck out that day, so I didn't accrue any more charges, was $1,619.64. Not until I went to Facebook with my experience did I get a call from somebody and offered to reduce the bill if I remove the video. I said no, because it was all true facts.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you once again for coming.
Welcome.
So obviously you've got every tow truck company in Grande Prairie calling you and asking you things.
I've
what
only
kind
heard
of-
from 3 of them, and that was about it. It's just previous experiences. I mean, I am a local resident. I have sat on council in Wembley, so I've been around for quite a while. We're 20 years in the auto industry, and people like to share the drama, of course. But honestly, at the end of the day, the charges are astronomical for what's occurring.
Okay. So are they supporting you in your
No, they just wanted to know what my end result was to be. I just wanted to bring it to your attention more than anything else. I mean, if this is operating this way and it's a contract that exists for a lengthy period of time, how frustrated are people going to get? Like it's not just one incident, it's quite a few.
Okay, fair enough, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Gundersen, those are all the questions that council has for you at this time. And as I mentioned, we deal delegation business at the end, where council have an opportunity to ask administration questions, in particular about the process. You're more than welcome to stick around. You could also watch it online, or if there's other follow-up required, administration would follow up with you.
Okay.
But you're welcome to stick around if you'd like.
Sounds great.
Thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Did you guys want a copy of this stuff?
Sure. If you want to just give it to Mr. Tarrant there, he can distribute it through council. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Moving on to item 7.2 on today's agenda, Deckett Towing and Hauling. As mentioned before, this is a delegation who let us know ahead of time that he wanted to speak to council. Please come forward, take a moment to get set up, and as with the previous delegation, take about 5 minutes to address council, and then council may have questions following. Welcome.
Good day, my name is Sean Leonard. I'm the owner of Deckett Towing and Heavy Haul. I wanted to address a few untruths and accusations made by Cory, the owner of New Lines Auto. I'd like to start with do you guys have the pictures I submitted through Amanda? I submitted several.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So I contacted CRC, the Collision Reporting Center, And this is the largest thing on my list to go over. We did not fraudulently charge anything. There is an email stating from the manager there, Lisa, that the vehicle was brought in, as well as photographs taken outside their building on my tow truck, as well as an e-log that I submitted, which is an electronic logbook device that all of our tow trucks have, with timestamps and GPS stamps. That was one of the photos. I don't know what you guys are seeing, so it's kind of hard to
And if you have
speak to it. But
items that you'd wish us to see, if you put it on the clear package paste in front of you, then it will be projected to everybody's screen.
ooh,
That's fine. Council has received it, so.
okay, all right. Well, it is in there. The e-log that's printed out, as well as the email that is printed out from the manager at CRC. We've never fraudulently charged a client for the CRC, like towing the vehicle from our yard to the CRC. I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what happens after a vehicle is in a collision. So the Collision Reporting Center is not at our IDEN Bay. It is across town at the Eastlink Center. We did retow it there. There is a charge for that is allowed within our contract to bill for that service. I'd like to just continue on with a few other things that he has mentioned on his online video, and then again in person. There are quite a few mistruths, and I just want to set these things straight. So I'd like to quote his online stream. To be clear, the owner of Deckett did call me, and I was told that there were at least 2 lines on the bill that were billed incorrectly, and that he would be refunding those 2 lines. Quote again, I didn't get into detail with him because I honestly didn't want to hear it. He stated in the video that he called the CRC and that we didn't tow the truck to them. I have pictures and the timestamps in the e-log, which I just said. He states in his video that the fingerprinting was done on Monday the 17th. Less than a minute and a half later in his same video online, he states that the tow truck didn't go to the CRC center on Sunday, which is the 15th. Of course, we didn't tow the vehicle that was secure in our bay on a Sunday while the CRC was closed. We would have retowed it once our CMP and the fingerprinting people had given us permission to release. Apologize for my shaky voice, I'm a little bit nervous. He states in this video that the police take pictures of the vehicle for the CRC while doing fingerprinting. This is completely false. And the purpose of the Collision Reporting Center is to get photographs together with the statements made by the people involved in these collisions and gather the information for the insurance companies. This provides relief for the RCMP, and I believe that is why they signed a contract with a third-party contractor, the CRC, to take the victims and the pictures and stuff off their plate at a third party. So the RCMP have nothing to do with the Collision Reporting Center, like he had said today and on his live stream. I don't know if he's just misinformed or what, but later in his video, he states he does not look forward to this at all, referring to his original statement made at the beginning of his video that he made online about meeting with City Council. Well, if you weren't looking forward to something that much, why would you shut down the owner of the towing contractor that towed your vehicle that wanted to resolve the issues the same day that it was brought to his attention that there was an issue to begin with? Again, he didn't even hear me out when I tried to call him, and I still refunded him regardless of how rude he was. He then goes on to say on his online video that, and this is where we get into the underlining agenda, There used to be a great system. They would rotate through towing companies. That is a direct quote. Deckett was one of those 3 companies back when there was a rotation, and I'm here to tell you that there was no billing regulations at all. I'm sure you guys are starting to realize that there is a different agenda here than just having a bill rectified, or that he has a problem with our services. We should get back to that old system. It seemed to work the best. Another direct quote. I would like to know how many bills he audited 8 to 11 years ago when Deckett Towing was on that rotation with Flynn's and Harold's. Is this man speaking from any truth at all, or is he just shooting from the hip? This is a great time to mention that this gentleman didn't even pay his own bill. Prime Towing did. He didn't realize that he was refunded the same day that I contacted him, because the refund went to Prime Towing, not to Cory or New Lines Auto. Rest assured, I did follow up later on to make sure that he did receive his full refund. Billing mistakes do happen often. Humans make mistakes often. I've been in business for over 14 and a half years. I'm not here in front of you, sorry, not going to lie in front of you and say that we have not had billing errors. But if I don't know that it's a problem, I can't fix it. I tried to fix it. 2 to 3 years ago, I was double billed for every property that I own in the city of Grande Prairie. Just an example of another human error. At the time, I had about 30 properties. About $20,000 was taken out of my account that shouldn't have been. This mistake was rectified and we moved on. I didn't slander the city or call upset. I asked questions and we made it right. Just a few weeks ago, another example of a billing error. My mom was T-boned in Barhead, Alberta, and I made a call to the towing contractor after seeing his bill. He had 3 misbilled lines on his invoice. He fixed them, sent me the revised bill, and I paid the bill. Again, mistakes happen. I could give you a list of the billing issues that I notice as I sign off on all of my expenses every single month. We spend well over $500,000 a month locally, and I have a stack of about 30 to 40 invoices on a regular month to call back to service providers for oil changes, transmissions, all kinds of things. Everybody deals with these issues in a professional manner. I usually have to speak to a manager or the owner and explain that something didn't happen, and sometimes they tell me that something happened that I was not aware or that it wasn't indicated properly on the bill. Regardless, this is doing business. Not everything is done properly the first time. It is a problem, but we take care of it. He states that he is a small business owner that doesn't want to pay any more than he has to. Once again, why wouldn't you just hear me out and have your bill rectified in the first place? He states that when he talked to me, I had asked for him to remove the post that Cory, that he would remove it if there was anything that was not true. He says in his video, another quote, he confirmed, speaking about me, that everything was true. Obviously, I didn't agree with any of this, and I did not ever say that any of it was true. I wanted it removed because it was false, and that's why I got a lawyer involved, because it is slander and untrue. If I thought everything he was saying, want to apologize on both mine and Cory's behalf for the amount of time, energy, and resources that have been selfishly consumed as a result of us 2 local business guys not being able to hash out something simple over the phone. I can only imagine how much this topic has cost the city in wages that he probably doesn't understand, because he has no idea how much time has gone into this. I would have preferred that money to go to fixing potholes, but that's just me.
Mr. Leonard, I've let you go way beyond your time.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind wrapping up.
Yep.
Thanks.
Very sorry.
That's all right.
Just today, at the very end of his spiel, he had said that I had asked him to remove the post, to remove the video. The video was not for about a week after my original call and only phone call to him. This is just a good example of one of many mistruths Cory has spoken. That's it.
Thank you.
Again, sorry for the shaky voice.
That's all right.
Not a public speaker.
Not a problem. If you just give us a moment in case council has any questions for you. Thank you. Open it up to council for any questions for the delegation. Seeing none, I will thank you for coming, and I'll move on to our next item of business today. On item number 8 on today's agenda, the sale of Smith lands to social enterprises. The package is in your agenda, council. I'll turn this one over to Chief Glavin for introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. This is just the nearing the end of the process for the transfer of lands to Smith, and I'm going to turn over to Mr. Johnson for a more detailed explanation.
Thanks for that. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Good afternoon, Council. The subject property of this report is commonly referred to as the Smith lands. It is located on Park Road near the Activity and Reception Center and outdoor soccer fields. The subject parcel is approximately 3.9 acres in size. The city has owned that parcel and adjacent properties since 2014. Over the years, the Grand Spirit Foundation has expressed interest in developing a residential development on the subject lands, and Council has passed motions supporting that idea. In 2024, Grand Spirit Foundation, together with BA Leasing Incorporated, incorporated Smith Social Enterprises Limited, a for-profit entity, to develop a 160-unit residential development on the subject property. The proposed agreement between the city and Smith Social Enterprises includes the following terms and conditions. Purchase price for the land is set at $1. Smith Social Enterprises is required to construct a residential development of not less than 160 residential units on the land. For a period of 20 years, 30% of those units will be rented as affordable housing. For a period of 20 years, the city will have a right of first refusal with respect to any sale of the land. And finally, if Smith Social Enterprises does not commence construction or does not complete construction by certain specified dates, the city will have the option to buy back the land. As per Policy 602, dispositions of public land with a value greater than $250,000 shall be approved by Council. The Municipal Government Act states that if a municipality disposes of public land for less than market value, the proposal must be advertised. The proposal has been advertised and 60 days has passed. The city has not received any response to the advertising. As such, it is recommended that Council designate the subject lands as marketable, approve the sale of the land to Smith Social Enterprises Limited for the price of $1, subject to the execution of an offer to purchase containing terms and conditions satisfactory to the city manager and city solicitor. And finally, rescind the previous motion made on March 12th, 2018. I'm open to any questions Council may have on this matter. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson. Before we go to council, just look to the CAO if there's anything else to add.
There's 2 items I would like to add. One is specific to the clause on affordability, and just because it's a little bit outside our norm, but it's actually strengthening measures for the city. That would be a term that I would include in an agreement under the financing deal that the proponent has is looking at. CMHC has this. Our requirements for affordability align with CMHC's financing. So the there's little chance that they would not proceed with the affordability because of the favorable terms under CMHC. But enhancing that in the agreement, the proponents also agreed to a penalty clause should those properties or should those units not be available for affordability for the 20 years, that they would pay the city a fee in lieu of. And so it's unlikely that would be triggered. I felt that our standard proposal, where if a proponent wasn't meeting our terms, was the buyback provision wasn't strong enough and a possibility in this case. So they've been amenable and agreeable to this additional term, which would be in the agreement. The second point I would raise is we have, since this report was published in the agenda, also been asked for a letter of support. So I would recommend that the bullet 4 include a letter of support from the city for this project for Grand Spirit Smith Social.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Mr. Burke. Recognizing Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton, and thanks for the report. I just want to get clarification on, it says in here that if we have the first right to purchase this property if they chose to sell it. I guess for me, I'm hoping we're not getting into that world, but if they did come to that and another proponent bought it, they would still have to honor the original contract, and that these affordable units would have to stay in place. We could not, I guess I just want to make sure if we said we don't want to buy the property, that another proponent could buy it and then change the terms of the original deal.
Mr. Burke?
That's correct, and that is why we've proposed the mechanism for this transfer to be to Smith Social as opposed to Grand Spirit, that it increased our enforceability on those measures going forward. So that's correct.
Thanks for the clarification.
Councillor Bressy.
Great, thank you. I have a question about the buyback provision if construction doesn't get completed. Is it we're buying it back for the buck we sold it on, or is we're paying for a buck plus the money they've been spent? Just what's the very high level view of how that buyback works?
Mr. Burke?
Actually, if I may, I might turn to Mr. Freeman, who might have it in front of him.
Mr. Freeman?
While I look it up.
If you're joining us online, if you could turn your camera on, if you happen to have that information, be appreciated.
Thank you. Through the chair, to confirm, yes. It would be a purchase if they did not commence, I believe was the councillor's question, and yes, the purchase price would be $1.
And what if they've done some work on it and they are not going to complete construction? What would the purchase price be?
Mr. Freeman?
Through the chair, there's a mechanism describing that, but it's based on the appraised value less the value of the land, so there won't be any windfall on account of the land transferring back to the city. Obviously, we're transferring that for $1, so there would be a determination of the value of the improvements they had made on the land, and the purchase price would be based on that.
Great, thank you. And if I'm hearing right, that would be an appraisal, not just taking their word for what they've spent on it or anything like that.
Mr. Freeman?
Through the chair, correct, and the conducting that appraisal would be.
Great, thank you.
All right. So I see no one else in the queue. Councillor Thiessen.
I thought you beat me to it, Councillor Bosch.
He was in and out of the queue.
Oh, you're in and out.
We're
Okay.
good.
Well, I would make the motions as stands. So no, not as stands. I'm going to add one more to it as per the CAO's request. But I move that Council 1 designate all that portion of Lot 3, Block 5, Plan 212-1148, accepting 1.0 acre from the southeast side of the parcel as marketable, and 2, approve the sale of the land to Smith Social Enterprises Limited for the purchase price of $1, subject to the execution of an offer to purchase containing terms and conditions satisfactory to the city manager and city solicitor, and 3, rescind the March 12, 2018 council motion that council endorse allocating a portion of Smith subdivision to Grand Spirit Foundation, and 4, provide a letter of support for the project to CMHC.
So all of those motions are in order. I'll recognize Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. This is something that I'll support. I know that our administration, city solicitor, city manager put a lot of work into this to make sure that any potential loopholes that could be used against the city are closed. And so I have confidence in them that this is a good deal. And again, we're going to get 160 units, I believe, built in the city, 30% affordable housing. So I just see this as a win-win. So I'll be supporting it.
Thanks for that. I'll recognize the city manager, Mr. Burke.
And appreciate that was a late addition. If I could just propose one small change to wording, just provide a letter of support. I know in discussions with Grand Spirit, it might be more than one, not specifically to CMHC, but it might be to the province as well. So just a little bit of flexibility there. So just letters of support.
Yeah, for sure. I added CMHC at the end, so we'll just strike that part and provide a letter of support.
Perfect. I'll recognize Councillor Bressie.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Yeah, I'll be supporting it too. I want to recognize not just support of administration, but also I know Grand Spirit put a lot of work in through a competitive process to find a dance partner here. And so appreciate all the work that went in there. But also I want to acknowledge the neighborhood. I know that this was a piece of land we talked a lot about when we were considering places for a potential soccer dome. And the community came out very clearly and said they didn't want a soccer dome there. But I also didn't hear from Smith saying, hey, we want to leave this field green. I heard from that neighborhood actually clearly that they want more people to live in their community, enjoy the great community that they're building there. And so happy to support something that I don't just think is great for all of Grande Prairie, but also that I've heard from Smith residents they want in their neighborhood. So I'm excited to be supporting this.
Thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. Recognizing Councillor Bosch.
Thank you. If I could just get some information on exactly the demographics that would be moving into this housing project. I understand Grand Spirit's senior housing, but I'm just curious, is it open particularly in the affordable living side? Is it open to others, or is this strictly going to be through senior housing?
So to my knowledge, this is a mixed-use project with 30% affordable. If administration wants to correct me otherwise. Okay, so I got...
That doesn't answer the question of demographics, though.
Mixed use.
No, age. I mean, is it
Yep,
seniors
mixed.
or is it?
It's mixed.
Okay, that's what I was.
Go ahead, though.
The 70% would be market housing, not specifically for seniors.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Thiessen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. And the 30%, as Grand Spirit, we do deal with seniors, but we also deal with family community housing as well. So if there's persons with disabilities, these will all be accessible units inside of the affordable ones. So people who are without a place right now that suits their needs would be able to apply and find residency there. And for all the reasons stated, and for me making the motion, I know how much work has gone into this from both the Grand Spirit and the city side, and I'm grateful for all accounts. Grateful that it's crossed the finish line with no concerns. And this is a project that really has been imagined from different iterations of council since we acquired the Smith lands in 2015. And we've had several discussions throughout 2018, 2021, 2024. It's kind of a relief to hopefully see this get across the finish line and add another, full market scale multifamily housing complex to our itinerary of places to live for people. It's sort of been stunted in the multifamily area. So one, we know we need more affordable housing. Two, we know we have a very low vacancy rate, and this is going to go a long way, hopefully, to maybe driving the market down, giving people places to live, and also providing spaces for the people who require them. So appreciate the support around this and appreciate all the work that's gone into it. Thank you.
All right, I'll take that as Councillor Thiessen's close, as there's no one else in the queue, and I'll call the question.
Bressie in favor.
That carries unanimously. Moving on to committee business, item 9.1, the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting held October 1st. I'll turn this one over to Councillor O'Connor for introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'd like to move council adopt the minutes of the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting held October 1st as presented.
Thank you for that. That motion is in order. I'll call the question. Please vote.
Bressie in favor.
That carries unanimously. Councillor O'Connor, any highlights from your meeting?
Yes, I have a few highlights. Thank you very much. Traffic enforcement gave out 200 speeding violations, 9 parking tickets, and 31 verbal warnings. And please be aware of school zones this coming year. You don't want to be the one that commits a boo-boo. Also, there were 19,350 visitors to the Aquaterra, I can't even say that, Aquaterra outdoor pool this summer season, and it was a great success. And thankfully, the annual aquatic shutdown at the pool is now opened again, and I can say I'm in Lake Flint. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your updates, Councillor O'Connor. Moving on to item 9.2, the Operational Services Committee meeting held October 1st, and I'll turn this one over to Councillor Thiessen for introduction.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I'd move that Council adopt the minutes of the Operational Services Committee meeting held October 1st as presented.
Thank you for that. That motion is in order. Call the question. Please vote. Councillor O'Toole? Councillor O'Toole votes in favor, and that carries unanimously. Councillor Thiessen, any highlights from your meeting?
Yeah, Mayor Clayton, just a few. To keep the community informed, construction at 84th Avenue and 116th Street is expected to be wrapped up before the end of construction season, hopefully before the beginning of snowfall. But we'll keep our fingers crossed there. In Environment and Parks, our vermicomposting sessions are underway with various schools and classrooms. In our Environmental and Parks Department are working hard there. Crews are also focused on fall fertilizing, irrigation shutdowns, and hazard tree mitigation throughout Muskogee Park. In case you're a homeowner and you want to prune your trees, the city parks guys and gals tell me that the fall is one of the best times to be doing that kind of work. So get out your shears while you can and follow our lead. And administration has applied for $125,000 from Growing Canada's Community Canopies program under the Green Municipal Fund to enhance the city's 2025 tree replacement program, which is great news for myself and Councillor Platt because we're always advocating for more trees at budget. And finally, Design and Construction Standards Review passed through receipt for information from committee, and administration will be moving forward to talk with the community through the proposed scope in reviewing the design and construction standards and updating them, which hasn't been done in quite some time. So we look forward to that work and future updates on that report. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Thiessen. Moving on to item 9.3, the Financial Administration Services meeting held on October 1st, and I'll turn this one over to Councillor Platt for introduction.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I would just make a motion that Council adopt the minutes of the Financial Administrative Services Committee held October 1st as presented.
Perfect. That motion is in order. I'll call the question.
O'Toole in favor.
And that carries unanimously. Any highlights from your meeting, Councillor Platt?
Yes, Mayor Clayton. We had our service area update from our CFO, Chief Whiteway. Assessment and taxation inspections are concluding on properties that have been completed throughout the year for preparation of supplementary assessments. Those tax bills will be sent out later this month. Final collection process is being for manufactured home and BAA businesses who have not paid their 2024 tax accounts. In finance, administration is continuing to prepare preparations for the fall budget coming up November 13th to 15th. And in Grande Prairie, where events were held this last week at Eastlink Center from 10 to 7. Residents were invited to attend and ask questions. I believe a lot of council was there. It was well received. Great opportunity for the community to come out and speak to us. The procurement, competitive bids currently on the market include land sale of application of annual flower supply, fire station alerting, solar PV expansion, and integrated emergency communications review. And that's my report.
Thanks for that, Councillor Platt. Moving on to item 9.4, the Invest GP Committee meeting held October 1st, and I'll turn this one over to Councillor Bressy for introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I would move the Council adopt the minutes of the Invest GP Committee meeting held October 1st as presented.
Thank you for that. Motion is in order. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question. That carries unanimously. Any highlights for your meeting, Councillor Bressy?
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. It was a short and sweet meeting, not a lot to report, but I do want to say from the Director Service Area Update, the Chief Service Area Update, that in August, the City of Grande Prairie welcomed 3 new home-based businesses and 12 new commercial businesses to the city. So thank you for everybody doing new business here in Grande Prairie. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Councillor Bressi. Moving on to item 9.5, the Strategy and Communication Services Committee meeting held on October 1st. And I'll turn this one over to Councillor O'Toole for introduction.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I move that Council adopt the meeting minutes of the Strategy and Communication Service Committee for October 1st, 2024.
Thanks for that, Councillor O'Toole. That motion is in order. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Any highlights for your meeting, Councillor O'Toole?
Yeah, just we had a short meeting, but service area update is what I've got. City Clerk Department recruitment for public members continues for the city boards and committees and commissions. There have been 18 applications received to date. The deadline to apply is November 29th. Planning for the 2025 municipal election is well underway, and administration continues conversations with the province regarding clarification on Bill 20, including potential changes and impacts. Corporate services area, recent announcements include various upcoming fall events, Halloween Spooktacular, Drop and Swap, Spooktails Tour, and various road construction announcements, upcoming community engagement events, including Engage Grande Prairie, which was held on October 3rd at Eastlink, and the Intermunicipal Development Plan Open House, which will be held October 7th. Strategy and Communication Services once again continues with the Intergovernmental Affairs Administration hosted the first Indigenous Relations training for city staff. This training will be extended to the public and council in the new year. An expression of interest has been submitted for the Canada Public Transit Fund. And my last item to report is corporate marketing. A new digital and rink board client was signed on last week. The KEG, renowned for their advertising at Bonnet's Energy Center. Aquaterra will sponsor the ice slide at the Grande Prairie Winter Festival 2025, and marketing is currently running in campaigns for recreation, fall programming, fall fitness passes, boards and committees, and Drop the Swap. Work has begun on the 2025 Grande Prairie Guide. And that is my report.
Thanks for that, Councillor O'Toole. Moving on our agenda today, there are no items of correspondence, so we'll move to item 11 on the agenda, delegation business. There were two delegations today. First being item 11.1, Mr. Cory Gundersen. Open it up to council for questions of administration. Recognizing Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. Just a question for administration. Has administration investigated or looked a little deeper into the complaint on behalf of the city?
I'll turn that one over to our CFO.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Yes, this had been brought to management's attention earlier on. We do regular reviews of any invoices, and of course, any brought to our attention are also addressed with the proponent Delegate and has been quite cooperative, and any adjustments have been made.
Okay, so from an administration standpoint, we are satisfied then?
Ms. Whiteway?
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Correct. The proponent is very easy to work with and is open to any of our recommendations on invoicing and makes changes if errors are identified.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that. Councillor Bressi.
Great, thank you. Just along with that, if I'm hearing right, there is a process in place in the city if we get a complaint about an invoice that's out of line. If somebody does follow up with the contractor and doesn't get a satisfactory response from the contractor and wants that reviewed, what is the best way for them to get that reviewed? I don't know who I'm directing that to.
Ms. Whiteway?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I think through our procurement department, that would be the appropriate area. So their contact information is available online too. So that who is potentially one option for somebody to have their invoice reviewed if they needed it.
And they could just do that through 311 as well?
311 as well, absolutely.
Got more questions, but want me to get back in?
Take one more and then I'll get you back in.
Sure. A question on a different tack is I do hear confusion from residents about when they need to be towed to the collision reporting center versus when they need to be towed to yards, what's actually required of residents by provincial legislation or city bylaws, and what's just a suggestion from RCMP members or from towing companies. Do we have any information, or is there any chance of me getting clarity on when is a resident actually required to get their vehicle towed, and especially when are they required to get it towed to the collision reporting center?
Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to help answer process questions, if I could maybe ask Executive Director of Enforcement Services, Helen Napier, to join us. So Helen's been very involved with this particular process at the administration level. So not only from Enforcement Services perspective, but she's also done a lot of work in conjunction with the RCMP, and she's probably the best person to answer process questions. So maybe I'll ask her to help answer your question.
Welcome, Ms. Napier. I'm not sure if you heard that question.
Yes, I think I did understand it. When is it a requirement to have your vehicle towed to the collision reporting center? So to answer that, you have a legal requirement to report an accident when it's over a certain dollar amount. There is no legal requirement to take your vehicle to the collision reporting center. It is a model that insurance companies, most, that are working with our third-party provider, they want you to take your vehicle there because they can get pictures, they can get all the details of that accident, makes their job quicker, and it's better than for the person who's been in the accident. Legal requirement, there is no legal requirement.
Councillor Bressie, you're good? If it's on that, go for it. If not, I'll get you back in the queue.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So no requirement to be towed to the collision reporting center. And is there, if somebody is getting towed, is there a legal requirement that they use the city's contracted provider, or do they have options to choose who they use?
Ms. Napier?
And through the mayor, no, there is no legal requirement for someone to use our contractor, our towing contractor. So if somebody wants to use a different towing company, they can do so. There are certain circumstances, if there is a requirement for examination, forensic examination, that vehicle was going to be towed either to the RCMP detachment, if there's room there. If not, we've secured secure bays at Deckett Towing, our current contractor, to do that. So it would need to go there for the examination. Besides that, you can use what tow company you want.
I got one more.
I'll get you back.
Sure.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you. This is along the same lines. How does someone who owns the vehicle go about requesting that their vehicle be towed to the forensic approved collision shop of their choice?
Ms. Napier?
Through the mayor. So currently under our current contract, we only have Deckett Towing that provides that extra space for forensic identification. We don't have another secure bay besides at the RCMP detachment. And that bay can fit one vehicle. So we've secured additional space with the towing company for that purpose.
Okay. So if I wanted to take my vehicle to a different collision shop that was of my choice, can I do that at the point of towing?
Napier?
Through the mayor, yes, you can ask that towing company to tow it wherever you want it.
Okay. Because in my experience, that has not happened, even though asked when I was in an accident. So I would like clarity for the public to know, because I didn't know until the point of being put in that position.
Through the mayor, I think work is being done with our current contractor right now to clarify those types of situations so they have a full understanding.
Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clayton. So one of the things that Mr. Gundersen had brought up, and this is for Chief Whiteway once again, I believe, he had said that they had a system where we rotated different towing companies. Are they confusing us with the county, or is that something that we had done in the long past?
Ms. Whiteway?
Thank you, through the mayor. Not that when we've looked back at previous contracts over a number of years, there was no rotation. It was exclusive in the past, 3-year terms. So we've not run a rotation here. I do know that the County of Grande Prairie does run a rotation.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to jump in the queue before I go to round 2 from Councillor Bresley and Bosch. Ms. Whiteway, can you tell me why we wouldn't consider a rotation and what we're hearing from the RCMP in regards to the preference of establishing one consistent provider?
Thank you for the question, Mayor Clayton. Certainly, it can be administratively burdensome to manage rotations. The City of Grande Prairie receives a significant number of calls and requires to have someone always available. Our contracts are also not just for enforcement in our CMP, but even our own fleet vehicles in times where we may need a quick response and a guaranteed response. So historically, we've had great success with our contracts and have found that the 3-year one proponent solution works well.
Thanks for that. I just have one more question before I go to the others in the queue. Can you tell me, Ms. Whiteway, Mr. Gundersen asked in regards to what our process is for auditing the service from the provider. Can you expand on that a little bit, please?
Certainly, Mayor Clayton. So we do often, if we have our own direct invoices from the proponent billed to the City of Grande Prairie, of course, those will go through our normal screening process for expenditures. In terms of what if residents have a bill complaint, they've been brought to our attention. We have worked with the owner of Delegation and rectified those, and we have requested ongoing audits, so we do receive invoices on a regular basis from Delegation just to ensure that the prices provided in his RFP submission are being followed.
All right. Thanks for that. Councillor Bresley.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Just going back to previous questions about requirements to tow to the Collision Reporting Center, or lack of requirements, I guess, to tow there. I'm curious, the resident we had talk to us today, the car got towed prior to the resident even knowing that it was getting towed because it was a theft situation. In those situations, do cars ever get towed to the Collision Reporting Center prior to the owner of the car being notified that their car is in possession of the city or our contractor?
Through the mayor, I would have to check and investigate that a little bit further to get you a clear answer. I'm thinking if the owner couldn't be located, could be one reason why it might happen, but I would have to do further investigation to give you a clear answer.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Do we, in our contract to our third parties, be it this one or other ones, do we have an approved list of work that the city will put into this contract so that if there is a discrepancy between, this contractor or any other one, that the city has approved a certain list of work?
Ms. Whiteway?
So I'm not sure I follow, but perhaps maybe, it is detailed, like when you look at pricing, there's different rates with different jobs that would be done. So that would be detailed, but I'm not, if we need a tow truck for various reasons, they're contracted to be the go-to phone call and the work that goes around that call. I'm not certain.
I guess what I got from between both persons coming in to speak today is one feels that there was charges that weren't deemed appropriate, and others say yes, it was. Is there a list that we have requested through the provider that is approved to charge?
Ms. Whiteway?
Yes, we have a price sheet. Unfortunately, though, if it's not brought to our attention, we can't do anything about it. And in this scenario, this wasn't something that had been brought to our attention. It was an invoice between two businesses in town. And so at the end of the day, we would get involved if needed, because it was supposed to be based on the city contract. However, again, once we know, absolutely, but the contractor, we have worked with the customer directly, so we hadn't been involved in that particular situation.
Okay, thanks for your help.
I'm just going to jump in the queue, Ms. Whiteway. The delegation also asked about what the city's process is for awarding to reputable businesses. Could you possibly explain what goes through in regards to a procurement process to assure that the proponents that are potentially successful are reputable businesses?
Thank you. And I may actually ask our Director of Procurement to join me with some more technical. But overall, in our RFP process, we do look for examples of past projects, past services. We do require references as well. So references is one tool that we can utilize for that purpose. But I'll ask if Lori has anything to add as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Yes, in addition to what Danielle has mentioned, we also ask for the reference checks, which we very carefully vet, especially when we're dealing with a new supplier that we're not familiar with. In this particular case, there was obviously mandatory criteria related to safety that was required, and at times, we will do background checks as well.
Would it be fair to say that this isn't a one-person job, that there's a selection committee in this process?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions for administration in regards to the first delegation business today? Seeing none, I'll look to see if there's any business arising. Recognizing Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you, Mayor Clayton. I do have a motion and very open to friendly amendments from my colleagues. But for me, I would like to get a written report with some of the questions that we've asked today. I think that these things that I do see are occasionally in the community, and I think I'd rather have a written document I can direct residents to when they have questions rather than saying, hey, go find a timestamp of this council meeting. And so I'd move that we direct administration to report to the appropriate standing committee outlining what legal tow requirements exist in the event of a motor collision and how residents can address concerns with the city's chosen contractor. And just speak to this, I think, again, having this in writing would be useful. Also for me, over the years, my concern with this has more been in how RCMP handles some of these calls. I know that we often do have very new members who might not know local processes and might not be as well trained in Alberta laws as a more experienced member would be. And I've heard of cases where it sure seems like we've had residents have requirements communicated to them that don't actually exist. And so for me too, having something written that says the requirements that I can use to go to police committee and start talking with our RCMP officer in charge about, hey, how are you training your members? How are you make sure you're communicating would be very useful to me in my police committee work as well. So I hope the council will support this motion.
I think that motion is in order, or I don't think. I know that motion is in order, and I'll recognize Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Bressie, for bringing this up. I think this is a valuable tool that the residents need to know, so I will support your motion.
Thank you for that. Seeing no one else in the queue, I'll call the question on this motion. Just give us a second here. Councillor O'Toole, how do you vote? Councillor O'Toole votes in favor. And that carries unanimously. I had a question before you go, Ms. Napier, and it possibly could be for Chief Lemieux, possibly for you. Can you maybe explain the process in regards to communication with RCMP members in regards to who the proponent is? And is that something that maybe needs to be more regularly updated? And what's the process right now for members of the local detachment to understand who that proponent is?
So I guess the process for this year, there was a member that I was working with, administrative NCO at the detachment, that I was working with, that would be communicating that out to the members at the detachment. As stated, yes, there is new members coming in all the time, so could be one reason for if everybody's not aware of the proper procedures.
Okay. Thank you for that. Maybe a question for Chief Lemieux. Chief Lemieux, would it be appropriate to reach out to Superintendent Brockman to have a refresh in regards to that information, that it be just reminders to the RCMP of who the proponent is and what the options are to individuals involved in an accident?
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Mayor, and I do meet with the superintendent on a regular basis. I'll make sure that we have that conversation very soon.
Perfect. I'll recognize Councillor O'Toole, and then I have one other item of business on this.
Just one question to you, Ms. Napier. When is this contract, when is the next one due?
Through the mayor. It was awarded in this spring, and it's good for 3 years, and I'd have to get the exact date.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just kind of wanted everybody on the same wavelength there.
So we got about 2.5 years left.
I'm looking for support from my colleagues. I'm interested in having it come back to the appropriate standing committee, but I'd like to have an update on the Collision Reporting Center. It's been a while since Council has had statistics and information at the appropriate standing committee. I'm looking just to see the numbers, how it's working, the utilization of space, just an overview of how the Collision Reporting Center is working in regards to being at the East Link, et cetera, and Chief Lemieux, if you have any other specifics, don't know, happy to make a motion, happy just to leave it with you to email council, just ask your preference.
Yeah, you can leave it with me, and I'll get a written, detailed email for council.
Okay, perfect. Does that satisfy my colleagues, or would you like? Okay. All right, thank you for that. Thanks, Ms. Napier. Moving on to our second item of delegation business, Mr. Leonard, I apologize, from Deckett Towing and Hauling. An opportunity for questions of administration or any business that may be arising. I'll open it up to council, recognizing Councillor Thiessen.
Yeah, Mayor Clayton, I think a lot of the business with both delegations has already been taken care of through Councillor Bressy's motion, as well as your direction towards Chief Lemieux. So I would just move that we receive this for information.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Thiessen. That motion is in order. Seeing no one else in the queue, I'll call the question to receive this for information. And that carries unanimously. Moving on through today's agenda, there are no notices of motion. We are not having a recess. We'll now go to council member reports, and I'll start with Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I guess I'll start off with AB Munis. We were all there last week in Red Deer for our annual conference. I actually want to take a minute to thank Mayor Clayton. Last term, when I remember going to AB Munis, we'd have a minister meeting or two. It felt like we met with almost all the ministers there. So I think that's a lot of work that Mayor Clayton's done, and Councillor Bressy with AB Munis to get us that FaceTime with those ministers. And not only did we get FaceTime, I felt like it was very quality time with those ministers, and we were well heard. So thank you for that. I attended a Nighthawk board meeting. Happy to hear that we finally received our claim for the business interruption. So Nighthawk's got a little cash back in the bank and still working on other things. We also got a proposal for some bike park modifications to look at making a year-round adventure park more realistic. So that was great, and I think Nighthawk's heading in some exciting directions. We had stakeholder meetings with our Grande Prairie Public Police Commission, which was great. I like the transparency in the process we're starting on that and how council can speak to them, but are also not part of them, and I like that separation with that part as well. Engage GP, we had the event at Eastlink Centre, a great opportunity for folks to come down and talk to council and much of our senior staff. We toured Kensington multifamily projects, so it was great to see what they're doing there and some interesting different ways to try to do a multifamily project. And this past Saturday, I attended the Harvest Dine and Dance for the Grande Prairie Foundation. A good fundraiser for them, was actually quite a fun event. And lastly, one of the events that wasn't necessarily a calendar event, but I want to give a shout out to High Tech. I got the opportunity to attend their 37th anniversary in business, and we had another business that some of us attended for 60 years, and it's just nice going to these businesses where you see something 37 years old, and they had a list of heads on top of dinosaurs as kind of their own fun play of it. That I believe they had almost 20 employees that have been there 20 years or longer. So I just, kudos to their organization. That's my roundtable.
Thanks for that, Councillor Plott. Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clayton. I had the opportunity to attend the TEDx presentation on Saturday at the Douglas J. Cardinal Performing Arts Center. Always great to be in there. Just want to congratulate all the speakers. There was a number of local speakers up there. They were brave enough to stand in front of a crowd and tell their story, and so I respect and admire those that got up there. So thank you. Just going down the list, Councillor Palat mentioned a few. National Truth and Reconciliation. I attended 3 different events. First day was at Veterans Memorial Gardens and had an opportunity to speak there. Then pipe ceremony at Masquite Park. It was great to be outside, although it was a little windy. It was the appropriate venue, though, and just a really good event. And then later at Muskosipi Park, also in the wind, but a number of great entertainers and events there. And the Doug Eady 34th anniversary at Friesen Brothers /IGA. That was just a nice event. Went there for a pancake breakfast. And I attended the 14th annual Chair Affair, which was hosted by Suicide Prevention Resource Center. As with every one of those events, there's a lot of tears, a lot of heartbreak, but they put on a first-class event, and I look forward to the event every year. They raise money, obviously, for an excellent cause, and it just is a first-class event, and so congratulations to everybody involved with that. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Berg. Recognizing Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I also attended A.B. Muni's in Red Deer, and I also echo Councillor Palat's comments. We don't go to any of these events without meeting with an MLA or a premier or someone, and I kudos to you for working hard, and we appreciate that very much. Went to Doug Eady's 34th anniversary at the Friesen Brothers, and donations were taken in again for the 2025 Special Olympics. So Doug is always working hard. He's a great ambassador for our city. The 14th annual Chair Extraordinaire, hosted by Suicide Prevention, people there opened up their wallets, and in the chairs that were auctioned off, they raised $97,000 just in that portion. And I was just blown away. And there was one instant there where they asked us all to bring a candle up and put it on the stage. And I tell you what, anyway, next, moving on. National Day for Truth and Reconciliation at Muskosipi Park. It was a great event, great entertainment. The regional economic development discussion between the county MD and Jackie and I and our staff, and that was a great event. And the council and the GPPS and the police commission, that was very well done. Engage GP at the East Link Center. I was there twice that day, and I wish more people would get engaged. We try and do everything we can to try and invite people, but people don't take the time and come and find out what we're doing, and we had it all well laid out. At one point, it was 22 staff to one person that was there, and later on, I heard it went a lot better. So anyway, and the last, the Stars Among Us Gala fundraiser, I had never seen this done before, but we did a ride-along from the moment that the call comes in to the moment that they have a timer going of how long it takes to take you from the roadside scene. They go through the process and then load you in the airport. And all the while, they are communicating with whatever hospital is there. I'll tell you what, it's that was very, very moving. And I was one of those people that got pulled off a road and in the middle of the highway. And I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here today. And off to you, Mayor Clayton.
Thanks for that, Councillor O'Connor. Recognizing Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. Yeah, a lot of the events that have been discussed I went to as well. I think every member of council went to Alberta municipalities. And I guess I'll throw in my 2 cents. I really appreciated some of the sessions. It was really, and also the respectful conversation that took place during some of the resolutions. There was one that was a bit, I don't know, risque. We're talking about, permanent residents versus full citizenships and being able to vote in municipal elections. That could have really gone to the dark side, but it didn't. Everyone was passionate in their position and respectful, and that's what I appreciate. And, that's sort of how governance is supposed to roll. I also really appreciated both of our MLAs joining us for our meetings with the ministers. It's that type of support, at least in our region, that allows our message to carry forward into those caucus meetings, into the legislature and other stuff. So thank you to both MLA Dick and MLA Woob for joining us for our discussions with a variety of ministers. The one I was at was with Minister Schultz. And I got to throw on some stuff with the Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance. So thanks for giving me the floor there, Mayor Clayton. Also attended National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. If I was a Bannockburger in timing on that day, I was both sides of the bun. I wasn't the whole meat, but I got to take part in the pipe ceremony with Councillor Berg and Councillor O'Toole early on, and Leonard Cardinal, who actually had named Musquote Park. So the fact that he was there commemorating the bench and the plaque for National Day for Truth and Reconciliation was very awesome in a spiritual sense. And then I took part in the 5K walk. Actually, it seemed more like a 7.5K walk for our missing and murdered children at residential schools. So the Orange Shirt Walk was a success. There's probably about 225 people that gathered. I got there early, so I was like, oh, there's only 4 of us here. But it was well populated by the time the walk actually started. Later on in the week, I also attended with Mayor Clayton the Sisters in Spirit Candlelight Vigil and Walk. Started out at the Friendship Center, walked to the Sisters in Spirit Rock, where we had the proclamation. Oh, Councillor O'Connor is inhaling the helium over there, it sounded like. Anyways, it's a somber walk, but it's great to remember, and a message that we need to continue to carry, so that we know that our missing and murdered Indigenous women, children, and Two-Spirited people come home to their families, and we don't have to have those questions on where they went. I was also part of the Engage GP event, both the budget session in Eastlink Center as well as later at the Grande Prairie Museum. A big thank you goes to our staff. As Councillor O'Connor stated, we had quite a bit of staff on rotation there, ready to answer the public's questions, and when they were called upon, they did an exceptional job. So thank you to our staff for being there for that. All hands on deck. Budget is probably the biggest thing that we do through the course of the year, when we have most of our eyes on us. So understanding where the public's coming for us and for administration helps us lay the foundation for good decisions in the future. And finally, I also attended the Grand Spirit Foundation Harvest Dine and Dance, and on Sunday I emceed the Run for the Cure, and which is a run for breast cancer, and yeah, the cure. That's what I kept promoting, not just research. We're running for the cure. The cool part was on Friday I met with the organizers, and their fundraising goal was $85,000. And on Friday at about 11 o'clock, the fundraisers told the organizers said that they were about $84,000, so they were going to hit their fundraising goals. And I looked at him and I said, this is Grande Prairie. We got a good community spirit. We're a very last-minute town. I guarantee you're probably looking at least 90, probably 100,000. And when I got the final fundraising total on Sunday, it was 131,000 plus. So an additional 50,000. I think a big big kudos goes to CIBC for matching some of those donations, and I think that's why it bumped up so high. But I was happy Grande Prairie did not turn a liar out of me yet. So thank you very much for your generous spirit and working to find that cure. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Councillor Thiessen. Councillor Bressie.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I was at a lot of these events, so I won't rehash them all, but do want to thank members of council for attending Alberta Municipalities. Appreciate having you folks all there. And also, I got so many comments from members of other councils about how they appreciate how our council actually does have a field of colleagues that are working well together and how high functioning they see we are. So really appreciate the team I get to work with when I get to hear about some of the teams that people also have to work with across the province. So thank you all of you for being a good group of people to work with. Also, I want to give a big shout out to our Parks Department and our tree replacement program. I noticed that the very aging row of trees in Avondale Park that are on the north end of the park that are slowly dying now have new trees planted along the entire row. And I know for the residents that live there, I've had a couple residents reach out to me saying how much they appreciate that and that they don't just have to look forward to having no trees whatsoever along that park. I think it's a good privacy break, but also it gives that park a lot of character. And I know that that's the one substantial tree plant that I've seen, but I know that tree plant has been happening across the community. And that's, I think, the most cost-effective way to have an awesome community 20 years from now is to be planting trees today. So thank you so much to all of our staff that have been involved in making the community so much better 20 years from now.
Thanks for that, Councillor Bressie. Recognizing Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I met with the combative sports via Zoom, combative sports in Alberta, and that's not a busy time of year, but there is a couple of fights in Edmonton. UFC's fighting here in November, as well as they've got a training seminar there as well. I did attend the monthly policing committee meeting as well as the police commission meeting. I also attended the LSM 60th anniversary, and that is just a remarkable milestone to have people that have worked there for that length of time and also have a business that can operate for 60 years. I attended the kidney walk, and I also attended the EOEP course. I carpooled down to Red Deer for the AB Munis, and the course was offered there. I attended an information and advocacy meeting on electrical distribution rates, which I thought was amazing, and I'm pretty sure the city of Grande Prairie was hosting that. Also, International Airport had a session on their airport and what their dreams are in the future and what they've accomplished in the past. I also attended a meeting with K-Division, RCMP. They had their major administration staff there to answer questions, concerns, and see where we're going. I was joined by Councillor Bosch, Councillor O'Connor, and City Manager Shane Burke. Once again, attended Doug Eady's 34th anniversary. I think I was there when he would turn 25 and 21 and 18, but his 34th anniversary with Friesen Brothers is amazing. National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. I attended one of the events held that day and attended the grand reopening of a company called Green Bin and their new partners. There you go. I got a plug in there for you. Engage Grande Prairie at Eastlink. Very interesting comments. Lots of people felt that they didn't understand some stuff, but we had everybody there to explain it, and that really went well. And also, we had a budget stakeholder session at the Grande Prairie Museum just the other day. And with that, that'll be my report.
Thanks for that, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Yes, the same as everybody else as far as Alberta Municipalities Conference. Great meetings, great sessions, so happy to attend that. The Doug Eady anniversary of 34 years. I'm just going to add to that. Friesen Brothers has roughly about 24 stores throughout Alberta. And each and every one of their stores, they support people with disabilities and giving them the opportunity to do great things in their lives and work with people and work with the school system in bringing, older students in for work experience. So they've done that for as long as I've ever known, the last 25 years, I would say, for me. So I'm sure it's even longer. In addition to that, October is Disability Employment Awareness Month. So that's great for every business to acknowledge that, and perhaps maybe someone like Doug could work within your business and bring you such joy. National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. I chose to go to the Northwest Polytechnic, and I attended the presentation by Darlene Horseman on the Canadian history of the Indian residential school system. It was really, really good to take it from the beginning stages to where we are now. It was a great session. I urge, if I'm sure they'll do it again. It was a lot of information, but a lot of really good information to see where we are today from where we were. And just every time I hear this song, but I think everybody should hear it and watch the video. He Can Fancy Dance by Cindy Paul. That one is a 4.5-minute song, and it really enlightens everything that they talked about in that forum. So I can't even barely go through that song each and every time without tears, as the entire room had. But it's a very poignant song that I urge people to take some time to look at. I attended the stakeholder meeting, of course, with the GP Police Commission. Good to see where they're at, and they're fully filled out as far as members, and happy to see where they're going in the future. And I was not at many of the functions last weekend because we were at a immediate family wedding. So yeah, that was fun.
Thanks for that, Councillor Bosch. I'll just go through quickly some of the events that I had the opportunity to attend. I did want to say thank you to my colleagues for supporting us in our meetings. Our advocacy work is significant, and I really appreciate the support of my colleagues, but in particular, I want to thank Mr. Tarrenton, Ms. Westwater for arranging the schedules, and really it's a bit of a juggling match to align not only the sessions that are taking place, but to try to find meetings. And we had the opportunity to meet with Minister Dreeshen, Minister Amory. I had a meeting with Minister McIvory. We met with Minister Schultz and Minister LaGrange, and also with K-Division. So that I thought was a great AB Muniz, and thank you to Councillor Bressie for the work that he continues to do with that organization. While there, as mentioned, we attended the ACOS, we hosted rather a meeting with the ACOS service area municipalities to make sure that we are aligned on our advocacy, on our message, on the priorities and the significant need of having that conversation with the provincial government and encouraging them to make some changes within distribution across the ACOS service area. I wanted to thank Councillor Plott for attending the Mid-Sized City Mayor's meetings that were on day one in Red Deer at the beginning of AB Muniz, attending that meeting for me and being the deputy. Most recently, it's been extremely busy, so thank you for his time. Also attended the Peace Country Invitational Pro Bull riding event. Kudos to the staff at Bonnets. It was a great event. I saw the numbers significantly increase from last year. Well, it appeared to be fuller. I heard the numbers weren't actually that much higher, but I tell you, the energy in the building was significantly improved, and it was a great event. Congratulations again to Doug Eady. That's quite an accomplishment for him and for that organization. To want to work for anybody for that period of time is such an undertaking. So I really appreciate Doug Eady's passion, not only for his job, but for our community. I attended the Grande Prairie Suicide Prevention Resource Center event, and as Councillor O'Connor mentioned, it was a very special evening. Had a Invest Northwest meeting with Councillor O'Connor and CEO Burke and our municipal colleagues. Also attended the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, and thank you to Chapacos and the organizers of the event at Muskosipi Pavilion. It was a great event and a really good turnout. And thank you to Secure Energy for sponsoring that barbecue. It was a special day. Also attended with the CAO, a shareholders Aquaterra meeting with Reeves and Mayors and the CAOs, respective shareholders. Attended a meeting with council and the Grande Prairie Police Commission. It was great to sit with the Police Commission and have a conversation about things that council hears on a regular basis, but also the work that the Police Commission is undertaking. I wanted to mention I also had a meeting with the Grande Prairie Intercultural Association president. We had a recap with administration on how Experience GP event went, in including them in regards to their taste of multicultural organizations from around the region, but in particular it was at by the Old St. Joe's Church there, and it was a well-attended event, so that was great to hear from them. Had my regular meeting with the president of Northwest Polytech, as well as received an update, and had a meeting with Mr. Ken Drysdale of Masqua. Attended the Engage GP event. Thank you to the engagement team, all the staff and all the departments for attending that event. There's a lot of thought and presentation that goes into that day, and I think that it's something that council has interest to expand in years ahead, so thank you for that. Attended the 37th annual anniversary for High Tech, so congratulations to them. Also, thanks to the CFO for supporting me in a budget engagement session with community stakeholders. It was an opportunity for us to invite people from school boards and Northwest Polytech and business associations across Grande Prairie to engage with them in regards to the upcoming budget. Thought that was a great conversation. Councillor Thiessen mentioned attended the Sisters in Spirit Candlelight Vigil and had the opportunity and the privilege to read the proclamation there. This past weekend attended the Grand Spirit Harvest Dine and Dance event. Great event, lots of activity, lots of fun, and different approach in regards to how they raise money. It was a really nice evening, so thank you to the Grand Spirit Foundation. And last but not least, I want to thank my colleagues. Each of you has a significant role in our success, but when you say that I work hard, I couldn't do it without your support. So thank you to everyone around the table. And with that, I wish you a good rest of your evening. We'll see you soon. Thanks.